Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to visit Sri Lanka from the 4th to the 6th of April. During this visit, the Prime Minister will hold discussions with the President of Sri Lanka to review progress made on the areas of cooperation agreed upon in the joint vision for fostering partnerships for a shared future. Adopted during the Sri Lankan President's state visit to India, Prime Minister Modi will also have meetings with senior dignitaries and political leaders. As part of the visit, Prime Minister Modi will also travel to Anuradhapura for inauguration of development projects implemented with Indian financial assistance. In a historic first, Prime Minister Modi will travel to Rameswaram in India's Tamil Nadu state from Sri Lanka's Anuradhapura on his return journey. Anuradhapura was Sri Lanka's old capital and shares a cultural bond with India. Emperor Ashoka had sent his son Mahendra to Anuradhapura as an envoy. In Rameswaram, the Prime Minister will pay respects to Sri Arulmigu Ramanathaswamy Temple on the occasion of Ram Navmi. He will also inaugurate the Pamban Bridge. Prime Minister Modi last visited Sri Lanka in 2019 and this will be his fourth visit to the island nation. He will be the first foreign head of state to be hosted by Sri Lankan President Anura Kumara Dissanayake. India was the first country to bail out Sri Lanka at the time of financial crisis in 2023 using monetary assistance, credit limits and deferred import payments. India strongly stood with its Indian Ocean ally in difficult times. Ahead of Sri Lanka visit by the Prime Minister, he will be also visiting Thailand from the 3rd to the 4th of April to participate in the 6th BIMSTEC summit to be hosted by Thailand. The current BIMSTEC chair, and for an official visit, this will be Prime Minister's third visit to Thailand and this would be the first physical meeting of the BIMSTEC leaders since the 4th BIMSTEC summit in Kathmandu. The 5th BIMSTEC summit was held in Colombo in March 2022. In the virtual format, the 6th BIMSTEC summit theme is BIMSTEC Prosperous, Resilient and Open. The leaders are expected to deliberate on ways and means to infuse greater momentum to BIMSTEC cooperation during the summit. And for more on this, our assistant editor to Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, has joined us live from New Delhi. Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, let's talk about the two visits, beginning with Sri Lanka, of course. What do you think is going to be top of the agenda and what is the schedule going to look like there?
Well, the Indian Prime Minister is the first foreign head of government that the new Sri Lankan President Anura Kumara Dissanayake will be hosting. And during the conversation, the focus will also be India's support for Sri Lanka's debt restructuring. In fact, India was the first country to extend its support to Sri Lanka's debt restructuring, also sending a letter to the IMF. Now, essentially, during the visit, the focus will be on infrastructure development. As you pointed out, inauguration of India-assisted infrastructure projects will take place, but also on connectivity. Of course, in a symbolic message, the Indian Prime Minister travels from Sri Lanka to Rameswaram in Tamil Nadu, which shows the closeness between the two countries happening on Ram Navmi Day. But also, we know that the plans are there for grid connectivity that will help resolve the electricity issues for Sri Lanka. And also an oil pipeline, something that has been part of conversation for a pretty long time. And we know that this oil pipeline that connects India to Sri Lanka will have a good support from the Emiratis, from UAE. Now, we also know that focus will be on various areas like defense, like people-to-people relationship, and also financial connectivity. So, a very important visit of the Indian Prime Minister to Sri Lanka that will go on to focus on how both countries are working together to further firm up the historic and very close relationship between the two countries.
Right, Siddhant, let's also talk about of course, visit to Thailand as well for BIMSTEC. What can you tell us about that?
Well, this year's BIMSTEC summit will be important in terms of announcements on several areas, whether it is conversation on an FTA, the regional FTA, whether it is the larger focus on the BIMSTEC charter, whether it's the focus on connectivity, counter-terrorism, narcotics, and these are the issues that are going to dominate. But essentially, the big story will perhaps remain on the bilateral meetings the Indian Prime Minister will have. Now, it is clear that the Indian Prime Minister is unlikely to meet Bangladesh's UNIS, even though there are requests coming from the interim government in Dhaka. Also, we know that there could be a bilateral meeting with the leaders from Nepal, from Bhutan, and of course the host country that is Thailand. But will there be a meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the leadership of Myanmar, which of course is a leadership that came after the coup, is the big question. If it happens, this will be the first such in-person meeting between the two leaders, the leader of India, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and the leader of Myanmar. Now, we also know that Sri Lanka is also part of the BIMSTEC grouping, so we really do not know whether there will be a bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Anura Kumara Dissanayake. But remember that Prime Minister travels to Sri Lanka from Bangkok, so there will be a larger meeting between the two leaders in Colombo.
All right. Well, Siddhant, thank you so much for bringing us the latest on this. Of course, we'll continue to track both of these visits very closely, and there'll be more to discuss then. But thank you for now.